And welcome back. So for question 7 then, round 9050 to the nearest 100. So for this maybe we'll look at a number line here, okay, and we'll also have a look at this number in terms of its place values as well. So 9050 is 9 thousands, no hundreds, 5 tens and 0 units, okay, and we want to know what's the nearest 100 to that. So our options for this are to have this number go up to 9,100, because that would be the 100 above, or down to just 9,000, because that would be the 100 below. So that's 9,000 and no hundreds. Okay, so if we're trying to round, what we're trying to round to, that's the gap between our biggest and our smallest number. So it's nearest 100, 9,100, or 9,000. So here are two hundreds either way of the number we're looking for. Okay, on a number line we'll be looking at like this. There's 9,000, there's 9,100, and then right bang in the middle there is 9,050. So our rules of rounding, and again we looked at this last week, is to look into the column that we want to round. So we want to round the hundreds, and then look into the next column, and if that next column, in this case the tens, is a 5 or above, we round up to the next 100. If it's a 4 or below, we would round down to the previous 100. Okay, so in this case, our nearest 100 would be 9,100. Although if you did say it was right in the middle, you'd actually be correct, but we use that rule of using the 5. Okay, so multiply 0.1 by 100. Well, again, look how useful this hundreds, tens and thousands column titles ends up being. So always worth drawing stuff out. So let's place our 0.1. So we've got no units, decimal place 1/10. So this time I'm going to multiply by 100. When we divided by 100, we moved all our digits 2 places to the right. So now we'll come 2 places to the left. So let's move it once. That 1 will go into the units column. Remember, this 0 again is just a placeholder, meaning no units. We don't have to move that 0 along. And equally, we could place a 0 here, because obviously there's loads of zeros that don't do anything, but we don't need to. Now we need to move the 1 again, because we're multiplying by 100, into the tens. Now I can't just leave a 1 hanging around in the tens. I need a 0 here now in the units to hold that place, to say that that's 110. So if I just wrote the 1, it would look like a 1 unit. So if you like, the 0 has come there from the tens because we've moved it again. So we've got just the answer there of 10. Okay, work out 540 times by 5. So lots of ways to do this. Maybe I'll do it a slightly different way. So sometimes you may have learned this method, which is the grid method. So what we do is we break our numbers up into their hundreds, tens and units, or tens and units if that's all we've got, which is units. We have 500s, and then we have 40, and then we have no units. So I could put a 0 there. So I've got the 500 there, and I've got the 40 there, which is the breaking up of this number here. And then I just have 1, 5, or 5 in the units, okay? So you may recognize this. So then all I have to do is do 5 times 500, 5 times 40, and then if you want to do 5 times 0, okay? And then add up the bits that we're left with, and that would be the same as doing 5 times 540. So the reason this is nice, it's a little bit cheaty, because all the numbers are whole numbers, not decimals. We can count the zeros to see how large the number would be. So 5 times 5 is 25, but we're in the hundreds, so it would look at as 2,500 or 2,500. 5 times 4 is then 20, but we're in the tens, so we've got another 0 there, so now we're at 200. And then if we put those two numbers together by adding them up at the end, 2,500 plus 200, we get 2,700. Okay, and then finally question 10. What are the first 5 multiples of 25? So again, we did multiples in the previous videos, so that is just the numbers in that times table. So our first multiple of 25 is 25 times 1, which is 25. And then with any times table, we can simply add on that number to get to the next one. So 25 times 2 is 50. or 25 add another 25. If I then add another 25 to that, we get to 75. If you're struggling with the jumps, just take your previous number, pop a 25 under it, and then do the addition. So 0 add 5 is 5, 2 add 5 is 7, there we go. And then 25 times 4, that's 100. So 75 add 25. 5 add 5 is 10, so 0 carry our 1, 7 add 2 is 9, and then the 1 gives us 10. And then finally 25 times 5 equals 125. Hopefully 100 add 25 to get to 125 should be nice and straightforward for us. Okay, so those are our 10 questions for the beginners this week. Some people did every single question last week, which is fantastic. So keep on going, and again, if you need any more help or advice or additional resources, please feel free to get your parents to email Mrs. Panasar, who sent the original email out. Have a lovely week.